Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Randy Howell with Trader State of Mind, and we are here to look at what in the world happens in revenge trading, wanting the urgency to get that back. But first, before we get in, I want to make sure that everybody can hear me. So if you can, a couple of you, please go to the question box and type in a Y, and I would really appreciate it so that I know that I'm just not talking out here into the ethers. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Now, the only ground rules they are here is that when I do a presentation like this, I hold questions toward the end, okay? And that's just simply because it allows me to stay focused on the process that I'm in. At the same time, as you come to questions, I would love for you to write them down and go ahead and send them in so that at the end of the presentation, I've got questions to start with so that there's not this awkward moment of like waiting for people to say, do I have a question? Let's see, what is the question? That whole 9 yards. If you'll do that, I would greatly appreciate it, okay? So let's look at this. We're here to take a look at that urgency that happens when you take a loss. You want to get it right back. Okay, right there. That is what we want to take a look at. And in the process of this, what I really want to do is start with an understanding of what produces successful trading. And this is by various names. This is called the three-legged stool of trading. But what I want to do is you can start at any one of these moments, but what everybody knows how important the trading system is. You've got your platform, you want it to work, it just allows you to move in and out and do the work of trading. So yeah, we've got that. Everybody knows that that's necessary. The other thing is methodology, the rules, what's going to create an edge in the way you engage the markets. Everybody knows that. Everybody trains for that. It's risk management, and you know how to do that. And of course, though, what's not really talked about very much, and a lot of it is that this is just the dirty little secret that nobody wants to acknowledge. Trading psychology is that everybody has this dream of becoming a successful trader and having personal freedom and financial freedom, and it's talked to there, and all you have to do is follow your rules, leave emotions at the door, and trade what you see on that screen. Okay, that's all you have to do. Psychology does not have to enter the picture at all, according to this way of reasoning. And what we're about to show you is that it's not like anybody's lying to you, but the truth is that it's just not true. People who really begin to trade and understand things, they discover that trading psychology is kind of like, well, duh, why didn't somebody tell me about this first? The truth is, you wouldn't have listened. Because you get it down, oh, I've got an edge and all I have to do is be myself and I'll be fine. And yet the thing is that you're having the psychology of impartiality, the impartiality of probability. And what happens is you discover that our ancient brain does not like probability. It wants certainty. So out of that, what we do is say, because you start trading, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden it doesn't go your way, and all of a sudden you start, particularly with revenge trading, you start wanting to make up for prior losses, you start wanting to do all those things. I want you to know this is not your fault. Okay? This is really about the way the emotional brain is built to deal with uncertainty. The thing, though, is that it is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. You are going to be dealing with probability where you can do everything right and you can have everything in your favor and still land on the wrong side of probability time and time and time again. Then you get frustrated and there you go, you're off to the races. And so it's not an on and off switch. What you're doing is you're realizing that your brain was built for very different purposes than what we give it credit for. Okay? And out of that, what we then do is go, you know something? That logic just gets blown out of the out of your control. It so happens that the moment your emotional brain is reactive, it does not think through things. It does not have thoughts. Your thinking brain has all these thoughts and things like that and doesn't notice the emotional brain in the background. And out of that, what happens is that the logic gets hijacked by emotion that you're actually trying to control. And it happens way down there in the middle of that forebrain in the amygdala. And by the way, amygdala actually means almonds. And so it's an almond shaped part of your brain that's very, very primitive. And it's actually the kind of the master cylinder of how you respond to uncertainty. So this is the thing is this is a blind spot. The thinking brain just misses it all the time. It thinks it's in really good shape. Everything's fine. And yet the emotional brain sitting back there watching for danger. And if you want to know what danger is risking capital. To your primitive caveman brain, risking capital is equivalent to risking life. Okay, you got it? Now, what I want to do is I want to show you, I want to show you what actually happens in a hijacking. And let me just kind of set this thing up. You have a section of the midbrain, that emotional brain, that caveman brain, that is called the thalamus. Okay, and it's sitting there. And the thalamus, if you look at the thalamus like as a traffic cop on a really busy intersection, and he's directing traffic in all sorts of different ways. This was the other. Everything's running fine. And what happens is then you see that the information hits that traffic cop, goes straight up to the sensory cortex, 0.25 seconds, I might add, gets processed, logic happens, and then from logic and long-term thinking, the high road sends the information to the amygdala. Everything's cool, man, and you trade your plan. However, let's just say you're sitting there in that big, huge traffic is just running around all over the place, and suddenly there's a siren that is telling the cop that an emergent vehicle is coming through. It's danger, danger, danger here, and we need to be able to get it through. What he does is he stops everything. He stops all the traffic flow. And this is exactly what happens when you have like a freak out moment, when you have a tilt moment, an emotional hijacking moment. What happens is that cop cuts off information going through the thinking brain. It's no longer there, and it's going quickly over to the amygdala, and it's called the quick and dirty road. And remember, at this time, the thinking brain is crippled. It can't do anything. It's called, you might wake up a little later and say, oh my God, wait, how did that happen? I don't remember that. How in the world did that happen? Smoke clears, different game. That's the hijacking. That is that traffic cop stopping the information going to the thinking brain and having it logically thought through before it's sent back out into the amygdala. And as far as like, what kind of brain are you going to bring into that moment? Okay. Instead, it gets interrupted, and the only thing that's happening is that low road that's lightning fast. That sensory impulse going to the sensory thalamus over to the amygdala is taking 0.003 seconds to get there. Meanwhile, if the sensory thalamus was even sending a signal on the high road to the sensory cortex, it's going to take 0.25 seconds. Do you see that you've already been shot in the water? And then it goes down to fight, flight, and all of a sudden what happens, you start doubling down. You're not going to take that fight. You're going to save yourself to the very last breath. You're going to fight for your life. That's how it happens, okay? So now we see this, and the question really becomes is, oh, this is what's happening all the time. And friends, this right here comes from a brain from somewhere between 6 and 8 million years old. It doesn't know a thing about language. It doesn't know a thing about being able to coordinate action. It doesn't know how to communicate. It knows how to act. So now we've gotten this thing going, ooh, man, how do we go about interrupting this process so that we can think clearly? So that information is just coming, that external input, that neural information is coming. It goes up to the thinking brain. It analyzes it. It decides, okay, I know what to do, and sends the signal out through the amygdala, but it's chilled out, and you act cool. Everything's fine. You're disciplined, you're patient, you have clarity of thought. Okay. We know that, but we also see the way it's hijacked at sensory thalamus. And we see that that amplifies the whole thing. And the question is, how do we go about changing that? Well, we're going to take some steps here, because I really want you to understand this. Is, first of all, what's an emotion? Okay? One way of describing it is any disruption to familiar status. If there is a disruption to what's going on in your charts, by definition, an emotion is going to trigger. Others in neurobiology call an emotion a biological action potential that coordinates activity between the world out there, the markets, and the organism, the trader in there. So now we've got it going, ooh, and all of a sudden you see what happens in the slide before. You see what happens when it's in control. It's looking for something problematic to happen. It's automatic. It's not about thinking. It's not about feeling. It's about action. It's about reactive action. So here's the thing. Let's take a look at what an emotion is composed of, so we can start saying, how could we possibly go about interrupting this and changing the way an emotion triggers, has a life, and works to produce thinking? The first thing that happens with an emotion is there is a change in the environment. Automatically, there's a triggering to the emotion, and the emotion in triggering starts gaining strength. It starts arousing. It starts getting ready for action. And the body starts cranking up. You would notice that if you will tomorrow, get in front of your computers, and when things get tense, I want you to see what's happening and take a picture of it. What you will see is your face is almost in the face of your screen, and you're holding your breath, and you've tense all over. That's emotional arousal. And if you don't get a hold of it really soon, it's going to keep cranking up, hit a threshold moment, and then it spills into the brain and into the mind, creating a mind from a feeling. Now, that feeling of an emotion, it's not the way, oh, gosh, I'm feeling a pit in my stomach. You are actually feeling the emotion as chemistry in the body, altering the way you think right there. You are toast. Then motivation takes the thing. Motivation is, what's the emotion telling you to do? On the most basic level, it's avoid. Don't get in that trade. Take that skinny profit. Run before something bad can happen. Or attack. Oh, here's an opportunity. I'm going to jump on it right now. Oh my God, I didn't have a plan, but I thought it was an opportunity. Or approach, which is what we want. Approach means there's curiosity. You approach something to see what it's all about. Those are the three motivations. It's not just attack and avoid. There's also approach. And what we want to do by managing the emotion, we want the lead motivation to come from approach. That's what makes a good trader. Now, beneath the motivation is the meaning or the belief. And the belief doesn't have to be true, but it takes on the truthiness of being valid. Okay, so actually it's an assumption that becomes wired into your brain as an unexamined belief. You act from it, and you never examine the belief and say, is this a good one? Is it good to work with? The fifth component is temperament. Some of us are just more risk tolerant and can jump into things. Some of us are more avoidant. They don't, they really like to have as much confirmation before they get in that trade. And it's genetics. And if you have to be a really nervous person or a really impulsive person, trading is not necessarily the best thing in the world. But you can temper that, okay? But at the same time, this is the model, and that you can say, I can start disrupting it, but ultimately I have to change the meaning that an event has to me. Because ultimately, what your trading account is doing, it's telling you how effective your beliefs are that you're projecting onto the markets about extracting more capital out of the markets than you're putting back in. That, my friends, is what your beliefs are. And you're going, wow, are they effective or not? They're not true. They're either effective or ineffective or somewhere in between, and you want to have highly effective beliefs for the management of uncertainty. So, and we've talked about temperament. Now let's put this in focus. You see that guy way down on the left, that little chimpanzee type of character? Well, our species, Homo sapiens, and that critter had a common ancestor. And we still share with chimpanzees 98% of our genetic material together. So effectively, you have something like a chimpanzee's emotional brain sitting inside your brain. Now, do you think his emotional brain sees the world the way you see yours when you're in a rational mind? No. That's why everybody in trading, they would love to turn around at all these other primitive states of brain development and say, could you just stop following me? I just don't want you. I just want my thinking brain here. I don't want that emotional brain, that mammalian brain that keeps firing up and just blowing my thinking brain out of the way. So the deal is this: denying the impact of the emotional brain on performance is going to cause drawdowns. And if you really insist on it, it's going to impact your net worth really well, okay? It doesn't matter about the emotional explanations. That doesn't what happens is your brain, the limbic system, is going to make a decision. Your thinking brain is going to produce a rationalization for it. And notice we're not rational, we're rationalizing animals. And what you discover is you do not want that happen. If you do not know your emotional brain and learn to build a relationship with it, you're going to be toast. And it's just one of those things. So now, what I'm hoping you can see is this. You can begin by building a better understanding of emotion in the trading mind. And as Lao Tse famously once said, mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. And the thing is, what trading requires is self-mastery. You're going to have to look at things that you don't want to look at, that don't feel good, and you're going to have to master them. That's just simply the way it is. You're not going to think your way out of your trading woes. You're actually going to have to take your thinking brain and your emotional brain into new partnership so that the thinking brain actually learns how to work with the emotional brain rather than the emotional brain sitting on the sidelines until it triggers and wiping out the thinking brain. What you need to understand is that all thinking is emotional state dependent. Think about when you've been angry, how your logic circuits finds good reason to beat somebody up or do something nasty. When you're scared, think about what it sees. Suddenly you become scared money. And what happens is that until you deal with emotion, you're not going to master the trading mind. So what we're doing is saying, okay, we get it now. There's a brain and a heart that has to be brought together in a very new way to take the two different parts of Homo sapiens from the old primal apes that we came from to this new thing that we're evolving into. But we're going to bring the emotional brain with us unless we want a real serious lobotomy, and let's not do that, okay? But now we've gotten that. And here's the problem. Your brain would much rather have a reassuring lie. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go make some money today. You know, I've got a strategy. It's going to work, man. I've got it now. I've got my mind right. And this thing is so accurate all the time. I'm going to make money. And I want you to see, is the other movie playing, An Inconvenient Truth, has nobody buying the tickets. Your brain has a bias to go for the lie that is reassuring rather than the truth that is uncomfortable in the moment. Nobody wants to admit it, okay? But ultimately, at the very bottom of this, you're an emotional being who rationalizes. You are not a rational being who has emotions. We've got to do that. And what does this really mean? Well, your deepest beliefs are at the emotional level. Okay. And ultimately, what you start seeing is this: you have an inner map called the perceptual map, and it's rooted in the beliefs you have about your ability to manage uncertainty. So you have this inner map, information's coming in from the external world, it's going into the brain, it wants success, all that stuff, but it's under stress and it's going through the brain. The thalamus kicks everything like that. It's got a map that it's working from and says, danger, 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 Will Scott. And before you know it, everything blows up. Because ultimately, here's what you got to understand: beliefs are assumptions that take on the force of truth and cause you to see what you see. They're wired into neural circuitry and they become completely invisible. You know, when you take a look at this and you hear me say, yeah, and what happens is that you are projecting your beliefs about your ability to manage probability and projecting it onto the markets, and you're seeing the effectiveness of those in the balance and how well it's doing. That's what you're doing, is you're actually saying, wow, I can't see it, but it's in operation. They're invisible to me. It's within neural circuitry, and it's invisible to me, except for the results. And you've got to be the detective who starts with the results, bad or good, and working it back down and saying, oh, this is happening at a neural circuitry level. I have to change the neural circuitry in order to include different beliefs. Okay, so that's where we are, and that's what's going to happen. And what we want to do is say, well, how do we take a fear-based brain that is a negative assessment machine and to rebuild it into a probability-based mind? The very first thing is to accept that what you're doing now is not working, okay? And that you're going to need to reshape the way the brain engages the challenges of living, okay? That is what's going to have to happen. And the thing is, how are we going to do that? Well, my work is based on 5 principles, interlocking principles. And the first thing is that you are going to have to learn to emotionally regulate the intensity of the emotion by the way you breathe and the way you hold tension. Now, you might call it stress, but the thing is, ultimately what you're doing by just simply altering the breathing. If you would look at yourself, even right now, you would probably find out that you're not bringing in air into your belly, expanding to chest, and then letting it go slowly. You're probably breathing with the top part of your chest and are shallow or not at all. And what happens is you're carrying a lot of tension. You're already scared money. Just by breathing, just by tension reduction, you can lower the threshold of the buildup of the emotion before it can escape into the body and brain. You can do that. It's not gonna solve the problem, okay? But what happens is that it's a long ways. You come to the moment of going, emotion regulation is not going to get you to the door of the brain, but if you cannot regulate emotion, you're never going to get to the door of the brain anyway. But no, we have to have a different tool to work with getting to the door of the brain and being able to look inside. So let's just pretend right now that you have learned how to regulate the emotions, okay? And you're good at it, and you go to the brain, you open the door, and you look inside the brain. You look inside the mind, and what you see is pandemonium. You see this guy over here on the left, he's totally he has no management of how do I get mindful? How do I produce observer? How do I no longer identify with my thoughts? They consume me. I'm a loser. I'm this, I'm that. I'm never going to make it. I'm going to make a bunch of money, blah, 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 blah. And then you take a look at it on the other side, you see this guy, he's becoming observer, and he's looking out and he's going, well, look at this. These are not me. My thoughts and I are not the same. You are not your thoughts and beliefs. You are just one potential organization of a self. That in fact, you exist as potential, and the observer of that potential is what gives shape to the self. So it is not you that is making all these mistakes. It is a particular organization of your potential that has got into a constructed self that has learned to survive in a particular way, and you're discovering that it is not effective in trading. You're going to have to change the way the brain interacts with that. So, but you can see right here as you open that door and you see how consumed you are by thoughts. And at the same time, on the right side, you see as you grow and can produce mindfulness, you separate from them and you realize those thoughts are not me. As a matter of fact, those mostly are history that I learned from evolutionary psychology, learned in my family of origin, learned in my culture, learned in my community, are crazy things that took place in my life. And this is the thing, is now we're going, whoa. There's another big thing to add to this, though, is that you as a Homo sapiens were very different than our cousins. We actually have the capacity to become the designer of the self that trades. And currently, one of the powerful ways of beginning to understand the brain and the mind is to recognize that the brain is actually a community of rival emotional programs that duke it out to get control of your potential and create a self. And once they're in control, they want to stay in control. And it's going to take, once it's habituated, hardwired, it's going to take some effort to get it out. But the thing is oh my God, is that the observer that I am has become fused to a set of beliefs and biases and assumptions that cause you to see and act the way you do. This is called the historical dialogue. And your job with this newly minted observer is to look at the internal dialogue, that historical dialogue, and recognize that's not you. And that you can actually go in and change that organization into higher functioning. This is what's powerful, friends. And add one more distinction here. If you understand your brain as a community of rival programs that are duking it out, when mind emerges from the brain, we do actually say that mind is the space where the management committee, the governing committee of you exists. And the real question becomes, who owns the trading mind? Okay? If you remain mindless, it's going to be scared money or impulsive money. Okay? But if you begin to understand it, is that, wait a minute. If I become mindful, I can reconstruct the emotional programs that give rise to the mind. Yeah. I no longer have to be working from fear-based or impulse-based trading. I can actually change to become a different kind of hunter. Instead of stalking and trying to make money, you wait for the money to come to you. And suddenly you take what the forest gives you. You take what the markets give you. And this is when you disrupt the grip of fear. And you have the power to reinvent the conversations of the self. Friends, this is really powerful, okay? But what I want you to do, third skill, it's under this stress of uncertainty. Remember, our caveman brain just does not like that at all. Your historical dialogue is what you hear in your head. You know, if you hear that thing, if you've ever beat yourself up, or if you heard this thing, take it down right now, get it before it gets away, blah, blah, blah. I think, oh, I'm never going to get out of this. Oh my God, I blew up. Oh God. All that's what I'm saying. That's the internal dialogue. That's what you're hearing. It's not you. It is only the result of your brain organizing you to survive in a particular environment. And it may have done very well. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I worked with a guy who grew up in Colombia, and it just so happens that his father was a professor, and so he was really intelligentsia and stuff like that. And a guy by the name of Pinochet came to power. And what happens, he didn't like all that. And they put paramilitary operatives and they were chasing him down, and they ended up going into the jungle and stuff like that. They found him, they killed him. And my client, Jose, had to take care of his family. They depended on him to find food and shelter by the time he's 8, 9 years old. He grows up, as you might expect, a control freak. He also grows up to own an international conglomerate that he will have this thing going, and he hires executives to do things, and they can do it. But what happens is he has to be in control, and he keeps getting executives that'll leave because they were hired to do something and they won't let him do it. That's the control. Okay, that guy would be the one that overtrades. In fact, that's what he did. He overtraded, and he was going to make things happen. He was going to close in, and he was not going to let his family die. And consequently, that was the uncertainty, and that was the historical dialogue that was going on in his head. And until he changed that, he's stuck. So your brain is built for certainty of short-term survival. It's not thinking about the future. Right there, you see the guy just getting all bent out of shape about making a little money. I'll be powerful. I'll this. I'll be that. I can do everything. Or you're scared that what you have is going to be taken from you. This is both the fear-based and the aggression-based sides. It takes you over. And so what happens is that we're going to have to now go, I get it. It's that, wait a minute. I'm beginning to realize, with an understanding of my mind as basically a governing board of who I am in the world, you go, well, this is interesting, because you can go back, you can go in and build a new mindset. You can actually build a new management committee. And this is something that we teach people how to do. It's not that hard, but it takes work. You just don't wish, you just don't visualize a few times and there's your mind. You have to work at it, and you have to come to be able to have faith that those elements are there in you as part of your human condition, and that you can learn to call them forward, and it become the working mind that engages the challenges of living. So, new mindset, new results. What we want to do, we want you to learn to respond to uncertainty with a mind rooted in discipline, the ability to maintain order under pressure, courage, the ability to turn toward your fear, self-soothing, calming the fear down, and impartiality, clarity of thought. That's the mind we want to build. These are all emotional programs, and they can be taught to come forward on command. Okay? And a good way of explaining it is, for those of you who have never seen this movie, I really recommend it. The name of the movie is Inside Out. It's by Pixar Disney. And what they did to make this cartoon, this is a movie-length cartoon, what they did is they hired neuroscientists, and what they did is say, well, I want to know how the brain works. And what you're looking at are a certain set of emotional programs, starting with the guy over there on the right, anger, and the one in the girl in the middle as joy, the one at the bottom in blue, sadness, the green girl as disgust, and that really wired up, weird looking little thing, anxiety. These are programs in this movie that are running the little girl's mind. And it's not until she could learn to reorganize that committee of emotional programs could she get to a new mind that she could get past the problem that she had. Okay? Emotions are going to trigger when you face uncertainty. Okay? And they're going to want to fire in very familiar patterns, and you feel vulnerable. So, the thing is, you're just cranking up the caveman brain. And my question is, that's rarely the one that's going to help. But what does? What we teach in our course is how to build an internal team by being able to find really the emotions at play that are there, part of the genome. What we know as a human being, that the courage of a warrior lives within you is potential, the discipline of a ruler, the self-compassion of a caregiver, and the impartiality of a sage. These are just internal strength, emotional programs being expressed as a Jungian archetype. They're just patterns that are there. And the deal is, what we're looking to do is say, how can we find those and bring them forward, and us act from them rather than that internal dialogue that's been running our life. It can be done. We teach this. And I actually use a form of work called memory reconsolidation to be able to do it. We actually use memory rather than wishful thinking like affirmations and visualizations. We're going in and finding something that did in fact happen, and that really it showed beyond any shadow of doubt that these programs are there so that you can have trust in them, okay? And out of that, they can pull them forward. That is the big difference. And when you do, what happens as this new heroic part of the self, what happens is it has no longer fear of the dragon. What happens, the dragon becomes the teacher. By learning to master that dragon, you master yourself. And in the process, you would see in trading, you would see it as becoming consistently profitable. In life, what happens is most people find that my course is a lot more than just about trading. It is really about life and the mind that you build to engage the challenges of life. The challenges, trouble is going to come, friends. But whether or not that trouble, those struggles have to become suffering, that's totally on you. Okay? Is that you can learn to build the mind that can engage that stuff, and the dragon become the teacher. That's what we teach in our group course. That's what we do in our individual course. And it can be taught. That's the good news. So ultimately, here's the deal. The successful trading mind is focused on performance. Okay? The deal is you can control the mind you bring to the performance or the execution of your methodology, of your rules. You cannot control whether or not it's going to deliver profits. As a matter of fact, I coach people so that they quit talking about what I won and what I lost. The real thing, what I want to know is, do you have an edge? You can back test for that. And can you bring that edge up? Okay? And act permit rather than your historical dialogue. That's where you do the deal. And if you do that, this is really kind of what it looks like. You take a look at these guys, man, they're in serious water. And what you do is what you notice is none of them are flipping out. They know what their roles are. You know, the sage gives good information. The caregiver calms orphan down. The warrior protects the boundaries of the kingdom. The ruler leads them. And all of a sudden you're looking at it going, these guys are working in coordinated action, just like you can build the aspects of the mind to. Okay? The deal, though, is it needs to be where you recognize that I can command these pieces so that I can actually control the mind I bring to the performance. Again, you can't control outcome, but you can control the mind you bring into the game. That is where you become the truly elite trader. Okay? You're no longer working like, oh yeah, this is certainty, I'm gonna make money. You're actually saying, I'm going to perform. That's what we do. Now, if this is the first time that you've ever heard me talk and stuff like that, my encouragement is get my free book. Go to my website, that's mytraderstateofmind.com, and we have a free book that you can get, and you begin to really dig deeper. Go to my YouTube channel. There's almost 300 videos that I've done over 20 years that really show you aspects of all this. And a lot of people go there and they have Randy Howell weekends. They have periods of time. They use my videos while they're trading to kind of help calm them down and stuff like that. But so you've gotten to that first thing, the book. At the same time, you go, okay, well, I'm not sure about that. Well, get some of the stuff where you get my workbook, you get some of the guided meditations, and you start saying, I'm gonna just check this stuff out. But finally, if you get to the moment of where you're going, you know something, I'm ready for this. I really see the value of having a good teacher who understands this on a level that I haven't heard anybody else talk about. We have a group course coming up. And we still have bases. I think the last time I checked, it was 4, maybe 5. But the deal is that if you want to really learn how to do this, the group course is one of the most efficient ways of doing it. It teaches you the skill sets. and it allows you to develop a very different mind that engages life, not just in your trading friends. It'll change your life. And if you do this, and when is closing for? Yeah, yeah, to get the free, yeah, and we're willing to give you a free gift that's worth $200 if you sign up by Saturday. And the reason we're doing that is because most people sign up late for this, and they get in and they don't realize. Now, some people do. Let's say that a number of people get in late and they're behind. What we want, what we want, is for people to get in several weeks early so that they're practicing the breathing, so that it's becoming habit, so that they're up and they're ready to go. That's what we want. And the first meeting is August 28th. And that's the review for the first class, which we hope that's basically what all the free gift is about, is preparing you for that first class. So we're trying to get you prepared, and it's also priced at, you can pay whole or you can build it into 5 different pieces. Okay, it's a good value. We also have an individual course, and that is a highly comprehensive and very personal course. And people say, you know something, I get it, Randy. I want to work with you. And what they do is say, we're going to get at it, and it becomes a really pretty intense relationship for about 3 months. And it's the high end on our stuff, and most people end up going through a lot of the group courses. They both teach the same thing, but the individual course does take it to a deeper level, and the group course teaches you the skill sets you need. It's highly effective. So if you have questions, I would love to take the moment and read some. I don't necessarily see any right now. How much is your program, James? How much is our program? It's 1,500, or can be broken into 5 payments. Yeah, there you go. 5 payments of 300. That's the group course. Okay, and the individual course is 4,500 and can be broken down into 3 groups. We cap it at 25. We don't. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Is the group course only one time a year? No, the group course, we run it 4 times a year, each season. And this would, we don't do it during the Christmas era because that's crazy. But what I'd also seen, what was the other question? Generally 20, and it has a cap. It has a, yeah, the question is, how many people are in the group course? Generally around 20. We cap it at 25. We don't want more than 25. Okay? So let's see here. Do folks start? Oh, Kira, okay. I took your course about 5 years ago. If I want a refresher course, how much would it be? Yeah, you have access to all the materials. Okay, all you have to do is go to Dolores and say, I lost the key to enter them. So I would start there. I mean, that's an easy way of doing it. Oh yes, of course. It'll be. I'll have it up sometime in the afternoon tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, will there be a recording of this? The answer is yes. I'll have it up tomorrow afternoon sometime. Okay. Is it healthy to interrupt the arousal of an emotion? Well, if you're sitting there getting angry, don't you want to interrupt that emotion before it grows into an impulse to act aggressively? Yeah, you're going to have to interrupt it, and better would be to actually plan for it so that you're actually prepared for that particular moment before it gets there. Okay, so when it gets there, it doesn't trigger that. But yeah, you need to interrupt the emotion. I know a lot of people that need to interrupt their emotions. Do folks start with a group course and then go to the individual course? Yes, they do. Some people do. And a lot of people find that they just want to take it deeper, and they move from the group course after they complete it to the individual course. And you get a discount. I think it's $500 in the first 9 months. Okay, but if you wait more than 9 months, all over. It's all over. Okay, what makes you different than other trading psychology experts? I'll tell you what I hear is the way I view what the problem is through the eyes of neurobiology, eyes of emotional intelligence, and using the concept of emotional programs and archetypes is more massively different than what you're going to find any other place. And I quit long ago trying to be competitive with other people. How would you compare your work to Mark Douglas? Mark Douglas understood the problem really well. I recommend Mark Douglas to anyone. I have read him myself. What Mark Douglas doesn't do a good job is actually teaching you how to get out of the problem that he describes. And I don't have a problem with him. I cut my teeth on really tough populations. When I was doing groups, they were coming out of criminal court, they were coming out of juvenile court, they were coming out of DSS. And so I have a very different way of looking at things. So grateful from coming across your work, Mr. Howell. I will surely come through when I get the means. Well, good for you. Good for you. When is the next group course after this one? It's somewhere in fairly early January. You got to get past that Christmas thing. Let's see. You said 30% approximately, come profitable thanks to your transparency of your reporting of success matrix. What specifically about these folks make it work for them? Any traits or qualities? One quality, and that is they realize they have an opportunity in front of them and they take advantage of it. They seize the day, they do the work. They don't think that they're going to do something one or two times and have it, and they realize that this is a lifelong project. Okay? That is the main thing they have. They realize that they have gold in their hands and they're going to seize the moment. They do not see my work as magic. They do not see that I have some magic formula that I can pour into your head and change happens. They realize they are being given the tools to be able to change neural pathway, and they're taking advantage of it. That's the major difference. How many classes are in the course? 5. Good question. I didn't say that. Good question. After the course, usually how long does it take to become a better trader? That you should be seeing improvement as you're in the course. Just learning how to breathe, learning you have a choice about who shows up for the game is a big one. I can tell you this is that to integrate all this usually takes around a year. And that's why also is that once you do the group course, you virtually have access to it for a lifetime. We want you coming back. We want you to, first time people take the course, they describe it as going 150 miles an hour. And the second time, it's only 75. The third time, it's going much slower. We want people to reacquaint themselves, work that process, and come to the moment of where they're the ones in charge. What is the $500 discount for? It's for people who are moving from the group course, who have graduated from the group course and want to continue into the individual course. Let's see. Randy, how long is each course in terms of hours, and when should the 828 start and end? They're an hour. There are 5 of them, and they last an hour to an hour and 10 minutes. Okay, there is a lot of homework. Okay, just to let you know, as I have always been known for my homework and the ability to for you to, like, for instance, the first thing we're doing when a person signs up, they're getting the piece on emotional regulation because I want them training before they show up for the first day. Okay. they're an hour each one, and most people discover they need to be able to devote a couple hours, maybe 3 hours a day, to get up and going. And when the 28th starts at 4:30 and ends at 5:30. Yeah, they all start at 4:30. Yep. But they're about every other week, except if you happen to run into a holiday or something. Yeah, what she said was the first one is the 28th of August, and the last one is October 30th. Because after that you start running into Thanksgiving, and it's just yeah, they all start at 4:30. They all end right around 5:30. Oh yeah, Eastern time. We're on New York time, and that's what we play by. Um, does prop firms or live trading impact your coaching? Well, I've coached a lot of people doing the prop, and I've seen people, a lot of people when they go into those evaluations, what happens is that they have to learn how to regulate themselves. It's an intense ordeal, and I've done a lot of that training with people as they go in, they prepare themselves for that, and the least you need to do is sabotage yourself. And then also when you actually make the grade and actually get a trading account, a funded trading account, what happens is then most traders go and blow it. So there's actually a lot of coaching really needed in and around that, and I and they could do a lot more. I've worked with a couple prop firms, and I have not been particularly impressed. Their business model is definitely a money making model, and they definitely can give you access to the capital. But in terms of like coaching you up for performance and maintaining that, I don't. That's not necessarily the biggest part of their business model. Randy, can you share the class of topics that you would discuss over the 5 things we just did? Yeah, go to the website, randyhowell.com, Trader State of Mind, and hit group course, and it describes it all the way. But I can tell you it starts with the definition of emotion, then it goes to emotional regulation, because if you don't have emotional regulation, none of this stuff's going to work. Then it goes to mindfulness, because emotional regulation is not going to solve the problem. Mindfulness allows you to open the door of the mind and begin to look in. Then it goes to the dark side of the internal dialogue, where you actually come face to face with what's been the problem. Okay. Then in the fourth one, that's about learning to be able to build a mind, a very new mind, not the one that you brought with scared money or impulsive money. And it teaches you how to build this mind that we were talking about. The fifth one, it puts you into conflict, and you start teaching you how to do this in the moment under pressure. And we also start building a psychological trading plan, and to the best of your abilities, we're integrating it with your method plan. That's been taught for 15 years. Okay. Have you ever heard of David Parrish? Nope. What do you think about? Reminds me a bit of what you teach, but specifically for trading. I'm not sure who he is. I'm assuming some sort of therapist with an emotional intelligence background. Okay. If we can't make it to the live session, are we able to email and have questions? Yeah, but you understand the live, it's going to be taped. You're going to be able to do that. If you, yeah, I think you heard that. The thing is, we can do that, but if you're not there, yeah, you can email me. But I ask you to don't ask me questions that require a dissertation to respond to. I got that today. He wanted me to compare various things and write him a big long letter about how it all works out. And I don't have that kind of time. I don't need to do that. I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. How long is the individual course in terms of hours per class and the number of classes? There are 10 classes. They last between 3 and 4 months, and they're on Zoom, and they last between an hour and an hour and 10 minutes. That's basically what it amounts to. And there's also lots of homework. Okay, there's no way to get past homework with me. I'm nervous. Breathe. It may not work for me because I am seriously rebellious. Thoughts? You sound normal to me. Okay, it's what happens is I would actually reframe that. The orphan in you is very rebellious because it's the only way it knew how to be able to not get swallowed up. Okay, is that the rebellion? The problem with the rebellion is that it really blows up trading accounts. It really blows up and makes a lot of revenge trading and stuff like that. And at some moment, that most rebellious little orphans really need the crew of this empowered mind around them to help them grow into higher functioning. How long time does it take to master emotional regulation? Well, I have been breathing diaphragmatically as a practice for 50 something years, and I'm still working on it. Now, most people would call me a fairly calm person, but what happens is that I see it as a practice rather than as an end goal. I don't believe that there is a destination. The journey itself is the destination. Okay, I recently purchased your patience guided meditation and emotional regulation workshop. If I were to sign up, do I get a credit? No. No said. I don't do stuff like that. I'm not if you can't figure out that what you're getting offered here is already too cheap, okay? And you can't appreciate that you're getting a solid deal, then there's nothing for us to talk about. Randy, have you trained or mentored any high-profile traders like Paul Tudor Jones, et cetera? Most of those guys never required it. I have worked with guys who have done exceptionally well, and Gabriel and also Christopher. Christopher is a guy who trades with an 8-figure account. David Dubay, yeah, David Dubay went through my stuff. So they're out there, and that's not exactly who is mostly interested in my work. It's people who are pretty smart, dedicated, hardworking, and they find that they've hit a brick wall, and they're looking after 2 to 4 years of trading. They realize it's in their head. Okay. Also, what time does the class start? 4:30 Eastern. Yeah, what Dolores just said is that's when the group meetings happen. The virtual classroom is open 24/7, and also the individual course. The times are negotiable. We figure out what best times are for us and for you, and we stick to that. Very specific question. Do you suggest I postpone my language immersion course until after I've done with y'all? Geez, I don't know how important your language immersion is. I know that language. Yeah, I don't know. I know that if you're doing a language immersion, that you're taking you're taking a language really seriously. So I don't know what you're doing it for. If it's for a job, it's for this, for that, the other, and I don't know. Do you study Joe Dispenza? Your teaching sound a lot like his. I run into Joe a good bit. I've never met him. I've tried to read his one of his books, and the print was too little, and I didn't particularly um, agree. Okay, but the thing is, I recognize that he's people enjoy his work. But what I notice is a lot of people come to me after working with Dispenza, and they're looking for something more. And I'm sure that people who work with me come to him. So I wouldn't call us competitors. We're here. Yeah, we're peers. Yeah. Um, I think Ivan, woo, okay, is teaching in the same way like you teach. His course is for 3 months. I've never heard of him. I don't know him. What is the price one-on-one? It's a course that has the 10 sessions, and it's $4,500. or it can be broken into 3 payments. Yeah, it's one-on-one sessions in Zoom. And I teach a process. I could care less about teaching you something like freedom and you're going to get it and all that is one session. I know that your whole brain is going to have to be reshaped, okay? And that there is a process that I go through that does that. No. I want that last one. Hold on. Let's see. How do you stay current in your learnings and training methods? Do you have a group of trading coaches that you might hang out with? Like, no, I do not. I read. I fortunately worked under one of the masters of emotional intelligence, and I read. And be honest with you, I have a laboratory. It's called Traders, and I get to see the brain on uncertainty all the time. And that's how I keep up with it. You know, you got to keep reading, you got to keep studying, you got to keep growing. And I invent processes as I go along. So, and I don't know what Dolores is doing. Oh, we're back here. Okay, I think that's it, my friends. I think we're at the moment where you guys have asked good questions, and I have enjoyed myself immensely. If I can help you, I would love to be able to do that. But meanwhile, I really do encourage you tomorrow, use your phone or whatever way you can get a video and film yourself, or at least have the phone open so that you know it's watching you, and watch yourself trade. You will see the emotional arousal. You will see the tension build. You will see all that, and you will say, "Oh my God, Randy is saying that the emotion's already triggered, and I'm already underwater emotionally." Yeah, I want you to look at that, and you never notice it, but you better. Okay? Oh, yeah. I would also encourage all of you. I recently did a interview, a podcast with Words of Wisdom, Rizdom, and that's had up till today 400,000 people look at it. It gives you a very deep sense of what I'm about. You can also go to Trader State of Mind, and it is actually there as an item you can click on and be taken to that. I think you'll see, you know, yeah, it's on YouTube, or you can see it on our website. Okay, but yeah, that's powerful. You'll get a very good understanding of my work, and so anyway, be well, and it'll be there tomorrow. It'll be there tomorrow in the afternoon, the recording, but it's not going to be there in the early morning. So, at any rate, take care. I've really appreciated your time. And now, really think about this and see what you want to do with this trading stuff. Be well. Take care. Bye bye.